The Brewers have a good, solid infield for years to come. The question is, will those parts be playing at those same positions next year?
You are Locked On Brewers, your daily Milwaukee Brewers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Locked On Brewers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. My name is Chuck Freimund, longtime sportscaster here in the state of Wisconsin, proud host of Locked On Brewers. Good to have you along here as we get into the offseason of the Milwaukee Brewers. It's funny, I got a message last night on my phone, said, tonight, Brewers and Dodgers. I got a message. Would have been Game 7 of the Brewers and Dodgers, but obviously Shohei and the Dodgers made sure of that last Friday night. This episode is brought to you by the good folks over at Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB, $20 off your first purchase with Gametime. Coming up on the show today, Vaughn. Vaughn, is he the long-term solution at first base? Turang, is he going to stay at second base? What's Ortiz's future? And how about Caleb Durbin? Is he staying at third base? Lots of questions going into the offseason with the Milwaukee Brewers. And which one of these four parts are not coming back? Okay, let's start with Andrew Vaughn. Brewers got him in a trade, and I think that trade, when they made it, and the back history on this is the Brewers brought up Mizorowski. They told Aaron Savale, Aaron, you're going to the bullpen. Aaron said, no, I'm a starter. And Brewers said, no, you're not. He goes, well, I want to be traded. And so he got traded to the White Sox. The White Sox had this prospect, former first-round draft pick, who was kind of underachieving in their uniform. And it looked like the White Sox were getting frustrated, and he was struggling, really struggling at the plate, so much so that they sent him down to the minor leagues. And it appeared that he had no future with the White Sox. The White Sox, that was it. He could not, the White Sox, as bad of a team they are, and they turned it around a little bit this year, did not feel that they wanted to see any more Andrew Vaughn. So they sent him down to the minors. The Brewers looked at it and say, hey, that guy right there, we had to keep an eye on him. So when they found a piece to send to the White Sox said, sure, we'll take Savale off your hands. You could have Andrew Vaughn. We'll take him. So the Brewers got Vaughn, stuck him down in the minors, and to see, hey, maybe we'll call this guy up in September or August where an injury pops up. July comes around, Reese Hoskins gets injured at first base. Long-term injury. So he was due to come back in early September. They brought back Vaughn, who hit a home run in his first game down at Nashville at AAA. And the Brewers brought him up, and he hit a home run in his first game with Milwaukee, in his first at-bat, I believe. And the hits just kept on coming. And he was just terrific. A couple of notes on Vaughn. When he first got called up, his first 28 games with the Brewers, Vaughn hit .340, 8 home runs, and he was just on fire. Now, Adam McCalvy projected this out at the time. Through 28 games, Vaughn was on a pace over 162 games to hit 40 home runs, 25 doubles, and 160 RBIs. That's the kind of pace Andrew Vaughn was. That's how good he was when he first got called up. I mean, he was Mickey Mantle up there. He was coming up there and doing everything for the Brewers. And King Vaughn took off in the state of Wisconsin. We quickly knew who this guy was and thought, wow. Well, Vaughn eventually cooled off from August 15th on forward until the postseason. Vaughn did not hit a home run. He went quiet. After hitting those 9 or those 8 home runs early on, he kind of went quiet for the Milwaukee Brewers. In the postseason, Vaughn hit two home runs, 2 key home runs, but he only had 4 hits. So 2 of his 4 hits were home runs. He went 4 for 26 in the postseason. Like a lot of guys on the Milwaukee Brewers. That was terrible. A terrible postseason for Vaughn. And he did not have a great September. Now, they got him listed at 5'10", 215. 5'10" is debatable, I'll tell you that. I don't think he's 5'10". He might be 5'9". 215, we'll give him that. He is a powerhouse. And he did a nice job at the first base spot. A little bit better defender than I thought he was going to be. Made some nice plays over at first base and came up with a lot of clutch hits, leading this team to 97 wins. Let's say he was a big part of it, right? King Vaughn was a big part of what the Brewers had going on. And obviously, what the Milwaukee Brewers look for in anybody who's on their team control, a guy who is under contract. And now Vaughn is under contract through 2027. That bodes well for the Brewers. Well, it doesn't mean if a guy hits 110 and he's under contract through 2035 that he's automatically going to be a starter on this team, even though they had a void at first base. But I think Vaughn has earned the right to be the first baseman going into camp next year. Am I giving that guy a long-term contract extension like Jackson Churio? No, not at this point. But Vaughn probably isn't as good as when he first got up, and he's probably not as bad as we saw at times during the postseason. Swinging at pitches out of the strike zone, he was not doing a lot of that when he first got up. In fact, when he first got on the team, first day he was there, manager Pat Murphy told him, as long as you don't swing out of pitches, chase pitches, as long as you don't chase pitches, you're going to be on the lineup. If you chase pitches, you're going to be on the bench. Well, it turned out he did later on chase pitches. And they kind of started using him in platoon with him and Bowers. Vaughn against lefties, Bowers against the righties. So he was platooning a little bit more toward the end of the season. But I think he's your starting first baseman going in. A lot to build on there with him. And obviously, as a former first-round pick, there's a little intrigue. What is the upside with Andrew Vaughn? At 27 years old, coming into his power years, I look at the power years in Major League Baseball between the age of 28 and 32 as your real prime power years as a hitter. So I think there could be some more there with Andrew Vaughn, but we'll see. But definitely as a guy, he's earned enough. His strikeouts weren't as bad as they were in Chicago. He's going to have arbitration. He was making about $5.8 million this year. But yeah, I think we all agree Vaughn is the starting first baseman going into next season. As for Reese Hoskins, they'll give him the $4 million buyout, right? There was a mutual agreement for $18 million going into next year. Would I do it again with Vaughn, with Hoskins? 2 years, $34 million, a couple of off seasons ago. At the time, it looked like to be the right move, right? It turned out to be the right move. I thought he'd be better than this. I thought he'd take that 2 years, $34 million and show that he deserves a long-term contract because he's 33 years old at this point. Never showed it. Showed spurts of it, didn't stay healthy, and now he's probably going to have to take a one-year contract with somebody else in the offseason. Barring an injury, it's not going to be the Milwaukee Brewers. So he'll get his $4 million buyout off the $18 million mutual option. I wish it would have worked out here for Hoskins. He fit into the clubhouse. He did love being here. You always wonder that if they're going to fit in and all that. Players always seem to do with the Milwaukee Brewers, but Reese Hoskins will indeed find another home. Jake Bauers. I don't think they'll tender Jake Bauers just like off-season last year. He's not going to be making a lot of money, but I don't think they'll tender him. Who knows? Maybe they'll bring him back like they did last year on a minor league deal. But Bauers was a guy. One thing about him, he came up clutch in the postseason, right? Game 1, hit that ground rule double in the 9th inning against the Dodgers. Last year, postseason, hit that 3-run home run against the Mets. So he's got some clutch gene to him. And this year in the regular season, some big moments as well when he was put in there. Can play left field, can play first base for you, add some versatility. And that's one of the reasons why Hoskins was kept off the postseason roster. He's a one-trick pony. He can play first base, DH, and that's it. And then with Bauers, he could play outfield, he could play first base as he started left field in Game 4 against the Dodgers. So, but I think Jake Bauers is gone unless they bring him back on a minor league deal. We come back. Brice Turang. Could he be switching positions in the offseason? We'll get to that coming up next. Chuck Freimund here on Locked On Brewers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. Locked On Brewers brought to you in part by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. NFL season, NBA underway, NHL, World Series, all coming to an head. This is a great time of the year for sports. College basketball right around the corner, and of course, college football getting to the heart of the conference schedule. Right now, new customers, you bet $5, you get $300 in bonus bets with FanDuel. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and it hits. You'll unlock 300 big ones in bonus bets to use it anywhere you want. Maybe you want to use it on live plays, whatever, tennis, who knows? That's for you to decide. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com, download the FanDuel app today. Get started today with FanDuel. And again, check out their live betting, their live plays. I always like to go that route. See a heavy favorite that gets down early, the odds shift in your favor, and that's where you can go and try it out with the $300 in bonus bets that you're going to get when you win that first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com, download the FanDuel app today. Get started with FanDuel today. Chuck Freimund here on Locked On Brewers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. This is part of the podcast where I say, hey, everybody, thanks for joining us here in the offseason. We picked up a lot of new subscribers here in this great year of the Milwaukee Brewers. Didn't end great, 2025, but it was God, I don't want to say a summer of fun. It was fun watching these guys, but at the end of the day, it is all about championships, and I do think the Brewers are on the right path to it. But anyway, you get us on Google, Spotify, Apple. We're on all the podcast downloads out there, wherever you download your podcast. We're the #1 Brewers podcast on the internet. And if you're already listening to us on the audio platforms, go to our growing YouTube page, search Locked On Brewers, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell. That'll alert you every time we drop an episode of Locked On Brewers. Hit me up on Twitter as well. You ever want to DM me, ask me any questions, hit me up here, Chuck Freimund, Freimund. Also, Facebook friend me as well under the same site. You'll see some pictures of the lovely Shannon with me in those. I don't know what to say after that, but yeah, I'm here. You'll see Shannon in the other one. I don't even know why I mentioned that. Anyway, Caleb Durbin. Oh, we'll get to Durbin here. I threw myself off here. Brice Turang. I think Bryce Turang, I mentioned this a lot in the regular season toward the end. I thought he had an MVP type year. And someone's going to say, well, he bet at 288, 18 home runs. Those aren't MVP numbers. Well, I look at, again, with MVP and these postseason awards, I look at guys, big moments. What do these guys do in clutch moments? What did they do in big moments for me? And Brice Turang did a lot. Not to mention, the guys should win another Gold Glove. The guy is amazing at second base, right? Maybe a sliver of a dip off defensively this year at times. It's like just a sliver. And maybe I shouldn't even say that. But still, he's so good at second base defensively and Gold Glove caliber. Free agent in 2030, I believe it is 2031, I believe 2031. Under team control through 2030, free agent 2031. And a keeper. And sure enough, a keeper. Among a few other guys we're going to eventually get to here in the next couple of days. But Brice Turang definitely is a keeper to me. And man, just everything about this guy was so clutch. Yes. And it comes with an asterisk again. Another guy who bombed out in the postseason. Get in line on that for the Milwaukee Brewers. A lot of guys. But the fact that August, man, he really found his power stroke. What, during the first part of August, I believe he's up to 8 or 9 home runs already. He was player of the month in the National League for the month of August. Big reason why they won the 14 games. Brice Turang, every time that guy came to the plate, you thought he would deliver, and he delivered many, many clutch hits for them this year. Now, where did it go in the postseason? He did hit that home run against the Cubs to help seal things up at the end. But I just thought Turang had a great season. 288, 18 home runs, ton of clutch hits, Gold Glove, second base. I think Turang should have been in the MVP conversation, or won't be, but in my opinion, because I see him every day. And I'm sure there's other players in the league who probably are not going to get MVP consideration, who other guys could can vouch for. But I really think he is MVP caliber. And I think he may win an MVP down the road. I really do. He's that good. He is a good player. So there's a lot to like about him. And I think that he is going to move to shortstop next year. This is no secret. I was way ahead of this. I said this back in May. I said, I don't know if Ortiz is long-term at shortstop. And Ortiz, we're going to get to. But Turang, defensively, Gold Glove second baseman, he could do it at short too. Now, there's some questions about his arm at shortstop, but they wanted to make this move last year in spring training, and they decided against it. But I think Turang moves to shortstop next year and will be just great there. Great. I think this future is with at shortstop for the Milwaukee Brewers. And I would love to see him long-term with the Milwaukee Brewers. Barring injury, Brice Turang, we want to see a lot of Turang going forward. We got a lot of years between now and 2031, but I love that guy. I think he's a gamer. He's a Murphy manager. We'll see if Murphy's managing in 2031. But you know how managers kind of come and go. But I would think for any manager who's the manager of the Milwaukee Brewers, Brice Turang is your guy. Ortiz. I don't see a future in Ortiz. I don't know how big the Brewers are on Ortiz right now. Obviously, they liked him when they got him. They had high expectations going into the season. And offensively, he did not live up to them. He can't bunt. And the clutch gene isn't there with him. He failed many times in the clutch. And of course, with the bases loaded, he had one of the worst. He was always coming up with the bases loaded. Probably nobody more in baseball came up with the bases loaded than Ortiz. He always found the bat in his hand with the bases juice. He did hit that grand slam against the Mets, but for the most part, he failed. And he's not good offensively. And I think the sample size is there enough now for 2 seasons of Ortiz, and he shifted from third to shortstop this year. Ortiz, great defensively. In fact, Gold Glove caliber type defense at shortstop. I really believe that guy's amazing. And yeah, when he makes plays at shortstop, you're like, man, thank God we have a guy like that playing shortstop. But then he comes to the plate and bats, and a guy like that would have been perfect in the 70s or in the 80s when you didn't have to have a shortstop hit. The game has changed. You could live with a shortstop batting 220 long as he played you some sparkling defense over there, but not anymore. I don't see a future with Ortiz with the Milwaukee Brewers. I think he'll be part of a package deal when they trade him in the offseason. That's my gut feeling. I could be wrong, but I don't see Ortiz long-term shortstop with the Milwaukee Brewers. All right. That sends us over to Caleb Durbin over at third. Caleb Durbin. Now, when the Brewers got Durbin in the offseason, and I was third base, I was like, they were going to play him at third base. I was like, well, we're going to have a 5'8", 5'6", probably, third baseman. I objected to it. I thought, man, but he was so good at third. And people could say, well, the arm. No, that guy put his nose in the dirt, and he played about as good as third baseman as we wanted over there, right? I don't have any problem with his arm. I thought he was great over at third base. And another one of those guys who's a Murphy-type player, and I think we all agree, a guy who should be a part of this future in many years to come, right? Even if it's a 1-year sample size, we've seen enough of Durbin that, yeah, this is the kind of guy you could win with. And a clutch gene, too. Didn't have a great postseason. He batted .308 and with 4 for 13, I believe it was, against the Dodgers. And 2 of those hits coming in game 4. He had a triple and a double. He tried to ignite a few things that just never happened with the Brewers. So, yeah, I think Durbin eventually moves to second base, though. I think Durbin to second base, Ortiz to short. Durbin to second base, Turang to short. And I think they'll look themselves for a power hitting third baseman in the offseason, either by trade or through free agency. but I think he needs to get some pop over at third base. And I did say this going into the offseason. He needs some pop over at third base. And then Durbin came along and was terrific. Not a lot of pop over, not a tremendous lot of pop over there, but Durbin is an everyday player. Just like you're an everyday listener, Durbin is an everyday player. Guys coming off the bench. Monasterio was pretty much invisible in the postseason, right? There was no room to play at Monasterio. So a lot of him hit the big home run against the Reds, the pinch hit home run to get the 14th straight game victory against the Reds and a club record. That'll always go down in Brewers history. I like Monasterio, and I've said this 2 years ago. Like Monasterio as a journeyman infielder, a guy who you could play at anywhere, outfield, first base, second base, shortstop, third base. And when Ortiz was out, he played terrific defensively at shortstop. During that winning streak, he was great at shortstop in August. I thought, what a guy to have off the bench, and I still want him there. There's a lot of teams that Monasterio probably could start on. The Brewers not being one of them because they have other guys. But if a guy goes down, you have no problem putting in Monasterio to fill in the gap there. So Monasterio, definitely. I like him. Love him. Guy, hard nose. Murph loves him without question. So my starting infield, as of right now, going into game one of the World Series, Vaughn at first, Durbin at second, Turang at short, and a gaping hole over at third base. A gaping hole over at third base. Who could come up next year and fill that? Is there anybody in the minors? Mate, Pratt, where do they stand? We'll get to that coming up next. Chuck Freimund here on Locked On Brewers. Monarch Money, terrific sponsor. I had people coming up to me at the postseason as I was walking around the ballpark say, hey, Monarch Money, man, that's helping our budget. And let's be honest, most of us can't name all our financial accounts, let alone what they're worth. 401ks, savings, investments, easy to lose track of. And that means me leaving money on the table. I started using Monarch Money, showed us we spend too much money going out to eat. It's easy to use. One clean, easy to use interface right in your laptop or phone. Don't let this financial opportunity slip by. It's going to tell you all your accounts, your investments, track your spending, get a better handle on everything, your investments, without having to even touch a spreadsheet. So here's what you need to do. Go to Monarch Money on your browser, type in Monarch Money, monarch.com. Use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB, and you'll get 50% off your first year. Monarch.com. Monarch, you start using Monarch, and use that promo code LOCKEDON MLB for 50% off your first year. With Monarch, they will tell you and put you in the right direction. Also, we're brought to you by Gametime. Gametime, hey, there's no better place to get tickets. Bucks season tickets, not season tickets, regular season tickets, which starts coming up tonight. You want to get tickets for that? Maybe some Packer tickets, concert tickets, comedy tickets, all right there on Gametime. Easy to use. They never will let you down. And the price you see is the price you pay. All the fees are included. So you see the price. Hey, that's you're not going to get any as you go along. All these tack on prices. They don't do that with you at Gametime. Fees are included, up front with no surprise fee at checkout. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB. You get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, the promo code LOCKEDONMLB, $20 off your first purchase. Swipe, tap, and ticket. Swipe, tap, and ticket. Go to Gametime today. Download the Gametime app and take advantage of their offer and get great seats. And of course, once you get an hour inside of that event, before the event, those prices start to drop. You watch them drop at Gametime, see where you want to sit, punch in that seat. It'll give you a panoramic view of the seat, and you can select that one if you want or somewhere else, and you are good to go. But take advantage of the offer. Locked On MLB, $20 off your first purchase with Gametime. All right, down the stretch we come here on Locked On Brewers. Two guys who I get a lot of questions about in their minor league system, two of the top prospects, obviously. Jesus Mate, who played at three different levels, 47 stolen bases at three different levels, hit 247, can play second base or shortstop. Just talked about the infields. for the Brewers, Jesus Mati is not yet ready. I would suspect 2027 or maybe even 2028. He does play shortstop. He does play second base. Right now, roadblocked at second base with either Durbin or Turang, depending on what the Brewers are doing. And you would think at shortstop as well. But Jesus Mati, they have some time to decide what they're going to do with him, where he's going to play. But he's a talent. He's still growing. He's 18 years old. And he finished off the year at AA Biloxi. Now, Cooper Pratt, athletic as heck, 6'3", 206 pounds, can steal you a base, stole 31 this year, hit 8 home runs, 238. I think 2027 is when Pratt is coming up. Maybe if they need him in 2026, he could be ready to go. We'll see. But I think Cooper Pratt, he'll be up here before Mate, obviously, I think. But two guys the Brewers have a lot of hope for. And two positions right now that both those guys they play, the Brewers have players at their positions. So it'll be interesting to see where are they going to play. They're kind of roadblocked right now. If they're ready to play, right? Roadblocked. But Pratt and Mate obviously will be futures on this team. And, you know, those things always tend to work themselves out. Pitching and outfield. We will talk about that later this week here on Locked On Brewers. Starting pitching, outfield, bullpen, catcher, and Pat Murphy. Long-term on all that. It's all that coming up later on this week. We'll be here daily, Locked On Brewers, just because the season is over. Got a little message on my phone, 6:45 yesterday. The Brewers and Dodgers coming up shortly. Obviously, no one told my alerts that the Brewers got bumped out last Friday night already. But it did make me sad because I was like, man, tonight would have been Game 7. Would have been Game 7 against the Dodgers. Just like it was Game 7 in 2018 against the Dodgers. But that one ended poorly. All right. Lots of talked about this offseason, obviously, and player movement and all that. It's going to be fun offseason. Thanks for joining me. Locked On Brewers. My name is Chuck Freimund. Locked On Brewers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day.